my book and wax friends. I am Amber. Welcome to my channel and to my June reading wrap up. So I'm about to talk about and review all the books that I did get to in June. First off, let's take a look at my official TBR. And as you can see from the official TBR, I read 3 of the 8 books. So not the best, but some of them I just didn't get to, and then 2 of them were DNFs. So let me talk about my DNFs first. The first one that I did DNF was Realmbreaker, and that was a soft DNF. I started listening to that on audiobook, and that was just a little too high fantasy for me to really absorb what I was reading. And since June also was like kind of piratey themed, the prologue for Realmbreaker had nothing to do with that whatsoever, and it took forever just to get through the prologue. And I'm not saying I wouldn't enjoy the book, but it didn't feel like the vibe that I was trying to go for. Not to say that maybe there wasn't pirates later in the book, I don't know. So I got through the prologue and I was like, you know what, I'm gonna softy enough this for now. So maybe eventually I'll get to it. I don't know. Okay, the next one that was a DNF. This is also possibly a soft DNF. I don't know. I'm just kind of annoyed at it right now. And that is the Rom-Commers by Catherine Center, which I never thought I would say I would DNF. But I was reading this. I got through the first chapter, and there was harsh language, and I'm not used to that in her books, and not F-bombs, but just a step below that, and quite a few just in that first chapter. And I was like, what is going on? And so I was like, well, let me read the second chapter and see if maybe it was just a fluke and it doesn't have that sort of thing in it, because I'm just very sensitive to really bad language. I don't like it. And so it takes me out of the story when I read a lot of it in the story. So I got to the second chapter and there was more again, and I was like, dang it. So I got annoyed and I stopped it. I stopped reading it. Plus I know there are people that like this too. I really enjoyed this story, but I've heard from some people as well who I do trust their opinions, that they weren't the biggest fan of the main male character in this book. So anyway, I got irritated and frustrated about the language because I'm not used to Catherine Center having that. She has had a smattering in her other books, but not to the point, like I said, in just the first chapter, quite a few. And so I decided to DNF it. So again, it might be a soft DNF. Maybe I'll come back to it. I am still waiting for the Love Haters to come in to my library, and I'm planning on reading that one, and maybe I'll return to this one after that. I don't know. So anyway, so those are my 2 DNFs, and let's jump into the ones that I did actually read. So this is an order of reading order. The first one I finished is Namesake by Adrienne Young, and look how beautiful that cover is. This was for the prompt. It was part of my official TBR. It was the random color generator, and I got the color red. So all that red hair works for that. So this is the second book in the Fable series, which is about a girl named Fable who is abandoned on an island by her father. After her mother dies, she's abandoned on this island, and she has a special ability to hear, feel jewels down in the water. She's like a diver on the ship. Like, she was learning it from her mother on her father's ship at one point in time. And they were kind of like smugglers a little bit. And she has the same affinity as her mother did. And so she can feel the jewels that are under the water to be like mined and sold for profit. So she's abandoned by her father for a few years on this island that's kind of an island for kind of smuggler type people. And so her whole point in the first book is to get off the island and get to her father, because her father told her if she's able to make it off the island that he would give her her inheritance, which she believes is her own ship and crew. So that's where it starts. I did really enjoy the conclusion in Namesake. It had some interesting twists. I enjoyed the found family aspect again in this one that is in the first book as well. And you come to understand her father, Saint, a bit more in this book. And I really enjoyed that aspect too to it. So I don't know, did I say 4 stars? It was a 4 stars. I keep on meaning to do it at the beginning, but then I get rambling. So this is a 4-star read. I thought it was enjoyable. So that is Namesake. The next book I read, and I'll just talk about all 3 now. I read them through audiobook, and that was the Hunger Games trilogy. So the first book, Hunger Games, these were rereads for me. I've read them multiple times. So this was a reread in preparation for Sunrise on the Reaping. If you didn't watch my TBR video, definitely go back and check that out. That was put on my TBR for the month of July, and I have already started it, but I don't want to give away any spoilers. So the Hunger Games, this time on reread, it was about a 4.75. I feel like maybe because I know the story so well that my enjoyment was a little lower this time around, mainly just because Katniss got on my nerves a little bit. Not to say I don't understand what the reasoning behind the way she acts, because she's like in survival mode through the whole trilogy, mainly, pretty much. So that's understandable. It's a dystopian. Everyone should know what Hunger Games is. So do I really need to explain it? But I'll just say it's a dystopian about these games that these kids get put into because the states or country areas, districts is what they call them, rebelled against the capital, and as punishment every year the rebels' children get put in this games to kill each other. So Hunger Games was 4.75. Catching Fire, second book, is my favorite still of the 3, and that was a full 5-star. I enjoy a lot of the characters that come into play in the second book, along with Katniss and Peeta, of course, and Haymitch. And then the twists in that book, I really enjoy. And then the third book, Mockingjay, that was a 4.75 for me as well. I have to say, in the past, that was my least favorite. I did end up enjoying it a lot more this time. I still feel like it could have been ended a little more hopeful, but again, I see why Katniss has the attitude that she does have at the end. But I'm always a positive, hopeful person, no matter what. Not toxic positivity, but I see the bright side of things. And so that's a little hard for me to have a book end on kind of a sour note, but it still ended well. And again, like I said, I did enjoy it a lot more this time because I think in the past I rated it 4 stars, maybe 4.5. So 4.75, not a full 5, but still super high. So those are the 3 books. I finished the Hunger Games trilogy again. Really enjoyed the reread. Okay, the next book I read was Tress of the Emerald Sea by Brandon Sanderson. And this was for the prompt on my official TBR, a cover that has a hand on it, and you can see Tress's hand on it. So this is about a girl named Tress. She lives on this small island in this faraway planet. It's a different world. And the islands, the oceans aren't normal water oceans. They are what are called spores, and that come down from these moons. There's like 6 moons or something, and it comes down from the moons. And so her ocean, her island is surrounded by the Emerald Sea, so these green spores. And if the spores get any water on them, they sprout up these gigantic plants. So it's dangerous. So at the beginning of the book, Tress, she has a beau whose name is Charlie, and he is like the governor's son, and she's on the poorer side of things. She was like their window washer. She comes every week and washes their windows. They fall in love, and the governor doesn't like it, and so he goes off with Charlie, and they go off to find Charlie a bride, even though Charlie doesn't want to. So he goes away, and come to find out he refuses, and then eventually he ends up captured by the main villain of the story, this evil sorceress. And so from that, Tress, who is very comfortable living on her island, she likes the cozy, smaller life. She collects cups and loves just those sorts of things. She ends up deciding that she is going to rescue her love. So it's a little bit of a different twist. It's based on, well, not based on, but it's inspired by The Princess Bride, Brandon Sanderson said. And so you go on this adventure with Tress and how she goes about trying to rescue Charlie from the evil sorceress. So there is a big found family aspect of this story too. She comes to get to know the crew of the ship that she ends up stowing away on, and there's a ton of awesome characters. There is a talking rat named Huck, who is a big companion for her that helps her out a lot, and it's a super cute, fun book, and I rated it, again, I forgot to say it at the beginning, 4.5 stars. So I did enjoy it a lot, obviously, but it didn't give me those 5-star feelings like Mistborn did the month before when I read that in May. It didn't give me the same 5-star feels. So it was close to 5 stars. I did love it. I highly recommend it. It is a clean book. So if you're looking for a fun fantasy romp that's on the cozier side, definitely Stakes, but is a little more cozy compared to a lot of Brandon Sanderson's other novels. Highly, highly recommend Tress of the Emerald Sea. Okay, the next book I read was a classic, Treasure Island by Robert Louis Stevenson, and this was for the prompt you pick. So this is the one I picked. Like I said earlier, I was doing a whole kind of like pirate sea theme for the month of June, and so I've never read this book. I definitely wanted to give it a shot, and I did really enjoy it. It's about a boy, I think he's around 12 or something, named Jim Hawkins, and he and his family have an inn, and they have this guy that comes to their inn quite a lot, and he claims he has this treasure, that he knows of this treasure, and he's kind of hiding out from, he seems to be hiding out from other pirates, is what it ends up being. And Jim Hawkins and his family don't know why. His father is sick, and so he and his mom are kind of trying to take care of everything. Well, the other pirates, scallywags, end up finding this guy that keeps on hiding out at their inn, and he ends up dying. And from there, Jim and his mom find this guy's like a treasure map and some other things, and realize that this guy does have treasure. And so Jim ends up going with, it was like the doctor and maybe the governor or someone. They end up coming together to hire a crew of people to go to this island, Treasure Island, to find the treasure that's supposed to be on the island from the map. And so a lot of stuff happens from there. There's betrayal by some crew members. The other one of the crew members is Long John Silver. He was the cook. And yeah, they end up going to the island. There's big battles and a bunch of things. So it was a fun book. I enjoyed it. I gave it 3 stars. And yeah, I'm glad that I read it. It's not something that's going to stick with me. I feel like I've watched a couple versions of this story, but I didn't remember a lot of it besides like the name Long John Silver and Jim Hawkins, that sort of thing. I know I've seen the Muppet version of it. So it was good. Like I said, 3 stars. Okay, after that, I read, what is this called? It's just called Great Big Beautiful Life. This is by Emily Henry. It is her newest book. And for this one, I had to rate, let me make sure. Yeah, rate it 4 stars. So it got a 4 stars from me. And this is what I know this has had mixed reviews for sure. It is a little more on the general fiction side, and a lot of people were expecting like full-on romance. I would say there is quite a lot of romance in this for sure. But if you were expecting it just to be a full-on romance, you're not going to get that with this book, because it's also about the story of this older lady's life. And I really enjoyed that aspect of it. I knew going in that this wasn't going to be like romance and romance only. And so I enjoyed the aspect of learning about this lady named Margaret. So the story is about a girl named Alice who has really wanted to kind of write the story of this lady named Margaret's life. She knows a lot about her from her father, and from her father was a big fan of Margaret's husband's music. Her husband was a musician, a famous musician, and Margaret came from this super powerful media family. And back years ago, she ends up disappearing from off the face of the earth, and no one knows what's happened to her. Well, Alice ends up getting contacted, and through different means finds Margaret, thinks she finds her, and Margaret ends up inviting her to come interview her. But there is a stipulation in that there's another person, another author who is a famous, has written a famous biography in the past about someone else who was famous. And so he also is like in the running to write Margaret's story. Am I even saying, yeah, it is Margaret. I was going to say, am I saying the right person? Yeah, so Hayden is there also to interview Margaret, and they are both in the running to write Margaret's story. And so that is where the book takes place. So you do learn through Alice's point of view, Margaret tells her different things about her life and leading up to when she disappeared pretty much and what happened. And they have a month trial, and at the end of that month, Hayden and her get whoever gets chosen. So there's a sweet love story. The love story was very sweet between Alice and Hayden. I did enjoy that. I wasn't a super fan of Hayden as a main male character, but I enjoyed their relationship together. So that was 4 stars, as I said at the beginning. As far as content goes, there is some open door scenes, and there is quite a bit of language. If I'm comparing it to Just for the Summer by Abby Jimenez, which I wrote when I read the month before, not as much as that book, but there is quite a bit. So this will probably, because of the content, I think I'm done with Emily Henry books. So it seems kind of unfair that I read this one that had all that content, yet I DNF'd this one, which, I knew was not going to have that compared to this. But again, like I said, I got annoyed with the rom-comers with the language aspect of it. And so anyway, I knew what I was getting into with this one, but I did want to give it a shot. So I think I'm done with Emily Henry. But I enjoyed it for what it was. So just be aware of the language and 2 or 3 open door scenes. So that is Great Big Beautiful Life. After that, and besides the Hunger Games trilogy, this was the last one I read. So I did read 8 books total. So Rebel Witch by Kristen Ciccarelli. This is the 2nd book in the Crimson Moth duology. And I thought it was a great finish to the duology. I gave it a 4 star again. So I was going to say no 5 stars, but that's not true because Catching Fire was 5 stars. So 4 stars. I enjoyed the conclusion. I enjoyed how they get to the conclusion, but the conclusion felt a little on the rushed side. So the climax to the conclusion, it felt like it happened way too fast, the way they figure out things in it. I don't want to give anything away. It felt rushed to me. And then it was over type of thing. But I did continue to enjoy the relationship aspect between the main male character and the female main character. So this book, the original book is called, here in the US, is called Heartless Hunter, and is called The Crimson Moth in UK and other places. So Rune Winters is the Crimson Moth. So she pretends to be just a socialite. And this is a world where there are witches and then regular humans. And a revolution happened a few years back. I think it was like 3 or 4 years back, to where the evil witch queens were overthrown by the humans. And from that, another government popped up, and in this government, if you were a witch, you were executed. And so now the witches are being hunted and executed, and not all the witches are evil, but it doesn't matter to the new government. They're being executed. So Rune, who pretends to be just an airheaded socialite, she is actually the Crimson Moth, who is this vigilante who rescues witches from the guard, Blood Guard, I think they're called, or am I thinking of a different book? I don't know. I think it's the Blood Guard, possibly. I don't know. But the guard which is part of the government, they are hunting the witches. So she rescues the witches from them. So that's what happens in the first book. There is an enemies to lovers aspect between her and the captain of the guard, Gideon Sharp, and they both kind of suspect each other of different things. He suspects she's a witch, but he doesn't have any way to prove it. And so he tries to court her. So this is like a Regency England type of situation, but in a fictional fantasy world with witches. And then she, at the same time, is trying to manipulate him so that she can rescue the specific witch that that was her grandmother's best friend. So there's a lot of cat and mouse between them in their courting each other, which was a lot of fun. And it continues with this one. I would have liked to have more of the main bad guy in this. I wish there had been more with this person because it was very kind of lackluster. You had kind of a lot of it at the very beginning of Rebel Witch, but then there's not a lot after. There's a couple scenes, and then, like I said, the ending, the climax is just kind of eh. So that's why it only got a 4-star, because the ending, it was leaning towards at least like 4.5, 4.75. There's some pretty harsh language, not a lot, thankfully, but enough to where I wouldn't give it a 5-star, but it was leaning towards being close to a 5-star. But with the ending just kind of being a little bit of a letdown, the last like fourth of the book, a little bit of a letdown to where it dropped it to a 4-star. So that's it in regards to the books. But as you know, I always talk about the wax that I melted along with the books. So if you're here for that, please stick around. But if not, thank you for joining me to listen to everything that I did read during the month of June. So for the book Namesake, let me see what I did. I chose Louisa, which is part of the Encanto collection. And all these bars that I have to share this time are available right now. So you can snag them if you want. So this is part of the Encanto collection. Louisa, Beauty and Brawn. I felt like it worked really well for Namesake in that there is this kind of like wood cedar note to it, which makes me think of ships, and she is a pirate type of character. They're on ships a lot. And so it worked really well, I felt like. So Louisa, what is it called? Beauty and Brawn. There we go. Then for the Hunger Games trilogy, since it was just on audio, I don't really have anything for those. But for Tress of the Emerald Sea, I chose what is this called? Wild Seaside. And this is a really nice, like, aquatic scent on the masculine side that has this like lavender in it too. I can't remember all the notes, but it has lavender. It has maybe sandalwood. There is like bergamot, I think. It smells like this bergamot or another type of citrus in it. So nice. Loved it, mainly because of the name. I was like, oh, that works perfectly. That's why I chose it, but it works really well as far as the scent goes too. So Wild Seaside. Then after that, for Treasure Island, I chose another scent from the Destinations collection, which is what this one's from. And it is Sunset Cocktail. This is a fruity fun scent. It has coconut in it, mango, I think, and like passion fruit or something like that. And this is a fruity, coconutty goodness. And I just felt for the fun romp that Treasure Island is, and going to the island where there's coconuts, I felt like that was a good choice for sure. Then for Great Big Beautiful Life, I picked Sun Castles. So Sun Castles I chose because the book actually does take place on an island off the coast of Georgia. So it's a part of Georgia. It's an island, small island off the coast of Georgia. And so I felt like Sun Castles would be a good choice. This is in the regular catalog and it's delicious. There's a coconut macadamia nut and something else, but I get pineapple even though it's not in the notes. I get like a pineapple note. This is so yummy. So Sun Castles, yummy, and works very well for Great Big Beautiful Life. Then for the last one, Rebel Witch, I picked Italian Sunshine. And this one is a bergamot amber, what else is in it? I don't remember what else. Bergamot amber combo. So for me, it just felt like one that worked well for the story. It was just giving me vibes. It was giving me Rebel Witch vibes. And so that's why I chose it. So that is it, you guys. So that is everything that I have read and I have melted to go along with the books. So let me know if you've read any of these books and what you thought of them, or some of the books that you read in June. Let me know about that too. I always enjoy talking to you guys down in the comments. So please leave a comment if you want. And I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. Please like and subscribe if you have not yet for more bookish and home fragrance content. And until next time, TTFN. Ta-ta for now.